All right, welcome back, everyone. This is Aluminum Tower. Thanks so much for joining. As always, it's a pleasure to have you here for today's reading. We're going to do the sign of Virgo, Sun, Moon, and Rising from now until a month later, which is going to be roughly mid-February. And we're just going to look into the information as we move into the sign of Aquarius. And we do have a few placements within that particular sign, such as the Sun, the Mercury, and the planet of Pluto. All of those are kind of coalescing. And if you've seen today's speech at Davos, you would probably understand what that kind of feels like. It's God, if only I had the cojones to call someone's country a beautiful piece of ice in front of billions of viewers. It's embarrassing. It's so embarrassing. Anyways, I'm not going to get into politics for today, but I'm sure that you have your own opinions formed about that. I'll leave it be as it may. We're going to focus on Virgo today, and we're going to start today's lesson, or at least today's reading, by talking about the order of the day. So if you like what you see here, please be sure to give a like, share, subscribe, ding the notification bell, comment below as to how this affects you or how this applies to your life. And if you'd like to give a financial contribution, feel free to do so at the PayPal link in the description box below. That said, we're going to go straight into the reading for Virgo. Virgo, it's going to be for Virgo, Sun, Moon, and Rising. I've already shuffled the cards, and unfortunately, we have a Virgo-ish kind of card. So Virgo is known for its worry and its ability to overanalyze and overthink certain things, and this is no exception with the Nine of Swords coming out. This is my teratoma card, and what it normally talks about is that when you allow your fears to accumulate in your mind, you allow certain thought processes or certain attitudes towards things grow and expand and develop. They then begin to take on a life of their own. And as I tell people, it's up to you if you want to Google the term teratoma in Google or whatnot, or somewhere on the internet. And it's a pretty disgusting thing that you hope no one actually gets in their lifetime, thankfully. But anyways, the mind can be similar. It can allow a lot of different disparate fears and ideas and certain misconceptions to grow beyond the point of it just being a controllable issue. It then starts to take on a life of its own. Teratoma cells, they tend to create different parts of the body based on whatever it is that they feel like doing at the time. So they may grow an eye, they may grow a tooth, hair, all sorts of disgusting stuff. And that's what fears are like too as well. So you being a Virgo, I'm assuming that this is what's taking place within your realm at this particular point in time, where there's a lot of fears about certain things growing. Could be related to love, job, business, certain things like that. But only you would know. This is an algorithm. This applies to the program that you have set for your life. And we have here as the main challenge is the Six of Cups in the reverse. So perhaps if you're thinking negatively about someone, something, the challenge is finally being able to pull yourself out of that negative thinking, out of that mentality. And, based on the kind of signifier that I'm going to start using, which is basically the bottom of the deck, we have the Daughter of Cups, which is basically the Page of Cups. And then we have the Ten of Swords. We could pull additional cards where we have the World in the reverse. But these cards talk about someone who's, it could be a situation of unrequited love, unrequited business dealings and operations, or a situation that basically makes you take a knock on your self-confidence, depending on how this relates to your specific life. The situation that you encountered has basically ravaged your self-perception, and additionally, it's caused some bitter feelings to develop over a bit of time. In the recent past, you have the Eight of Pentacles in the reverse. Now we can go ahead and clarify what that means. Clarify Eight of Pentacles in the reverse. So we have the Ace of Wands in the reverse as well. So you put a lot of energy and effort into something. That something did not come into fruition, and now you're feeling kind of bitter about this, the entirety. And it's never a good feeling when you feel that something is unrequited, where you make a lot of effort and the object of that affection or of that desire, passion, or even desire for growth and prosperity does not respond the same way. So that said, this is another reason why it's not that I shy away from love and tarot love readings. If they show up in the reading itself, then it's something that we can talk about. But I never, ever, ever want to propagate any ideas that you should devolve into a cycle of limerence based on this person that you think belongs in your life. This is how people become obsessive and they're unable to move on. And this is the teratoma that grows within people's hearts because oftentimes they're hung up on someone that they wanted to be with. And because they didn't receive that, they get feelings of bitterness. They get feelings of longing, pining for someone. And this is kind of what this reading insinuates. So if you're a Virgo that's in that energy, it's important for us to look at this from a different perspective and try to extricate ourselves from this type of horrible feeling. We'll then go into the Queen of Swords as your near future energy. So with the Queen of Swords, we then clarify that with the Eight of Pentacles in the upright. So whereas in the reverse, you were dealing with a situation where you had put in the effort and then finally, it led to a loss of passion. It led to a loss of connection with someone. It's moving from that energy into a better energy that feels a bit more balanced and a bit more reciprocal. So you have the Queen of Swords here. And then on top of that, the Eight of Pentacles clarifying that. So it's like you finally getting clear on what you want to work on, what you want to put your effort and your energy and your value and attention towards. So it could even be about working on yourself. So say, for example, you're a person who feels always rejected or, feel like you're always at the butt end of, horrible or piss poor relationships. And then in this case, stepping into that Queen of Swords energy, you're now starting to feel that you are capable of cutting through the dross that is affecting your everyday life. So instead of allowing your mind to get into this state where it's like, oh, well, woe is me, everyone's this and that lack mentality, you're now starting to step into the Queen of Swords energy, who has been hurt in the past. Make no mistake, the Queen of Swords is the card of the divorcee. She is the card of the person who has been wronged, slighted, and now she's getting her mind together so that she can be receptive, but she can also cut someone's fucking head off when the time comes for it. And so it's that balance between mercy and justice, which are two sides that are opposing each other on the, Kabbalistic tree of life, which is where we start to then be able to process a lot of the information that we receive in a more mature manner. So that would be a good lesson or something to go into a bit later on. I'll make notes of that. But going back into this, we look into the card that's at the root of all of this, Strength. Strength is ruled by Leo. It's a number 8 card typically. But in this, for some reason, they have labeled it as a number 11. So I guess it's based on the Tarot Marseille or something like that, which is quite interesting. So you see this, and it's actually number 11. Whereas typically you would see the number 11 card being Justice, and then 12 that follows is the Hangman. Very interesting the way they laid that out. But now we have, with Strength, then we have the Ace of Swords in the upright, which is now telling us, you're wanting to find clarity and understanding about what it is that's taking place in your world, in your viewpoint. And what we notice about this is that we have this line here with a rose in its mouth. The rose can often symbolize victory or even peace. And there's something about the peace that you're trying to develop for yourself, attacking this teratoma of fears and insecurities and doubts in your life. You are now saying to yourself, I'm giving an offering of peace, but I'm going to be strong in my conviction that, perhaps what happened to me was not my fault. Perhaps what happened to me was meant for my highest good. So if you lost someone that you really were interested in or attracted to, then it's saying to yourself, the inner peace that you're finding at the core of your values, the core of yourself, this is forming in your solar plexus, because that's where the sun resides in the, the different, I suppose, like chakras throughout your body. And so with that said, that is about your ego, your confidence, your capability to intuit what it is that is, truly taking place. When you hear about that gut feeling that you receive from something, that's where that comes from, the solar plexus. And additionally, that's what brings the breakthroughs. So it's almost like saying that right now you're in a period or a phase in your life where you're trying to trust your gut and understand where you may have gone wrong on your end, where other people have gone wrong on their end, and be able to finally digest that. Now, speaking of digestion, Virgo typically rules the intestines and the nervous system in the hands. So when we have this idea about processing things that have been going on in your life, that is where you shine, Virgo. That is your superpower. That is your greatest strength, is being able to take things, dissect them into manageable parts, and then after that, understand where to go and how to organize, the physical realm in the best, most efficient way. So you're going to be taking apart a lot of these different issues that you've faced maybe in the past, when it comes to jobs, when it comes to women and men that you've dated, when it comes to the way you've approached life. Maybe if you're having a bit of a crisis of, an existential crisis per se, you're thinking about, what have I been doing up to now? All those fears and those, illusions that you have, superimposed upon your way of life. You'll now start to break those structures down, and then that will allow for you to actually shine a bit brighter with that strength card, the sun right behind it. That's what's going to allow you to be able to stand in your more authentic convictions. Now, at the top of this, we have the Son of Swords, which is the Knight of Swords in reverse. And this is clarified by two major arcana cards. So you have the Lovers in the reverse, and then you have the Tower. So this is at the crown chakra. This is what you know is to be true. This is what you're consciously aware of. And you are at the Knight of Swords, which is basically saying that you're unable to receive those downloads, those intuitions, but it's coming. Now, for some reason, I don't see the Tower card as particularly a negative thing. I think that this is the insight that you have actually been trying your best to receive. And the Lover's card right here is probably dealing a lot with the loss of connection between your head and heart. And I do remember speaking to someone else about that. It may have been Capricorn, it may have been Sagittarius, but I'm not quite sure. I have to go back into the readings to look at that. But with the Knight of Swords in the reverse, certainly it can talk about people being reckless, being, doing impulsive things, saying things that are off the cuff, like dear later at the Davos, meeting. But what it talks about even more so is that perhaps you're going inward to try to seek out knowledge that has been buried deep within about all of the things taking place in your life. And with the Lover's card in the reverse as well, it could mean that you're disconnected, detached from your head and heart, maybe that you're delaying a decision. But I almost see, like, in this, intuitively, if I was to read this, I would say that you're going within to look for those answers. And that's when you're going to get that flash of insight from the Tower. And hopefully that's what's going to put you into your Queen of Swords energy and the Eight of Pentacles. You're just going to, like, one day just wake up and bam, fucking hell, that's what I need to do. This is what I need to stop doing with women. This is what I need to stop, doing with certain jobs that I've applied for in the past. You need to keep these types of people on on their toes. And that's what's going to start getting everything flowing for you in a much more healthy way for your life. So rather than staying stuck in fear, you're now going to take proactive measures and steps to say, okay, this is what I need to do with my life. when the divine actually gives you those insights, it's going to pay out tremendously if you follow through. Now, towards the end of all of this, the message that we have the Hangman in the reverse, and then we also have the Page of Swords in the reverse. That's going to be the outcome. So it's almost going to be like a period of silent reflection where you finally come out of the stuck energy. Now, the Hangman in the reverse can say that, someone's being, kind of bullheaded and not wanting to see things from any other perspective. But I see you actually coming out of that difficult mind trap that has been kind of self-imposed exile on your life, on your way of thinking as well. And with the Page of Swords in the reverse, it tells me now you have the insights, you've already done the research, now it's time for you to apply it. Page of Swords in the reverse would say, like, okay, I've done as much, observation of the matter. And perhaps what it is that this observation is what's keeping me stuck. Rather than passively looking at my situation, I need to get out of the funk, out of the stuckness that I've been placed in, or that I've placed myself in. And then finally, I can take the decisive actions to overcome this blockage, this thing that has been keeping me up at night. The reason why I say that is because for your oracle messages, we have this Moonology oracle, which is about a new cycle, new romantic cycle begins. So yes, it may lead me to believe that this is more romantic related. So perhaps if this was a romance situation, you had been looking at all of the problems that you've received from the past with men or women that you've dated, and you're saying, okay, what did I do wrong? Where did I go wrong here? What should I do to approach this in the near future? After you get those insights, then you say, okay, now it's time for this new cycle to begin. And in order for this to take place, I need to go and approach this with a more balanced approach, this being the new moon in Libra. So with that said, we look at our life and we're taking accountability for whatever it is that has made us feel rejected, feel unloved, feel, down in the dumps about stuff. And this is also where you would you would go into that black moon Lilith energy by embracing those things and then becoming an individuated, personality where you can approach the new you with a synthesis between the light and shadow that you have faced throughout your life. And we have here, for our Angelarian message, we have Sahakiel, and this is the angel of the sky. This is the one that is kind of like the boundary between heaven and the material realm. And so Sahakiel kind of sits there and is kind of mediator. He's like the Hierophant in the sky. And if you notice, he kind of almost has his hands in the same way. He's got that blessings card. That blessings in his left hand. So when we talk about Sahakiel, it gives me like Hierophant vibes. He's even got like the halo behind him. And then what he is in charge of, or what it is in charge of. In order for us to reach heaven, we have to go through Sahakiel in order to say to ourselves, where am I tapping into my unlimited potential? Where are we starting to explore the vastness of our creative selves? And by looking into our own lives, we can tap into that vastness that lies within our own microcosmic expression, which is on Earth. Our body is essentially a universe expressed in the form of a human being, so that it can have experiences with a multitude of different organs and experiences with external people and realms and things like that. And the way it functions is that it has to reflect the macrocosm, which is the divinity around us, within us, and throughout us. And so what we're trying our best to do now is we're looking at where we can tap into that limitless potential by being able to look at the shadow within ourselves, accept it, embrace it, and then finally say to ourselves, this is how we're going to go moving forward. And that's pretty much it. So I hope this has been of use. Thank you so much for attending. This has been Aluminum Tarot. It's been a pleasure reading for you for today. Again, if you like what you see here, do what you can to support the channel. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Thank you so very much. And until next time, love and light.